Welcome to another episode of the Irreplaceable Dental Team. I always have a gem for you. This time, it's in the form of a handsome young man. And I use the word young intentionally. Our preamble spoke about how good he's looking these days that we'd actually have to refer to his boys as younger brothers rather than his sons. None other than Dr. Nigel Knight, one of my trusted orthodontists who takes such good care of my patients. Welcome, Dr. Knight.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. Really excited about this afternoon.
Great. Thank you for finding the time. We had to do some juggling, but that's how it is when you're very good at what you do, right? So we are honored that you created some space for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Knight, I know so much about you. Can you share a little bit about yourself for viewers and our listeners?
All right. Well, as you know, like I say, I'm Jamaican. I was actually born in the UK.
Okay.
Both my parents are medical doctors. Mom is an anesthesiologist. Dad was a obstetrician and gynecologist. And when they were specializing, they gave birth to me in the UK.
They were really specializing.
Really specializing. And then I moved back home, and then the rest was history. I went through Peter and Paul here, Campion College, and I did my A-levels. I did go back to the UK for my A-levels. I actually did 1 year back here at University of West Indies in Natural Sci, first year. And then by then I had realized that my love was dentistry, and I wanted to study dentistry. So through our uncle, who you know very well, Louis Knight, I went to Howard University, and I did stay there. I mean, I really enjoyed Howard. Those are some of the greatest years of my life. Some of the best friends I still have right now, my closest friends. So I did my first degree there. Then I went down the hill, did my DDS, dental, and then I stayed there and specialized. I did my certificate in orthodontics. And then I returned home here to Jamaica in 1985, and had some choices in terms of what to do. I ended up joining Dr. Otterbeck in his practice. He had been practicing here for about maybe 10 years before. And I've been with him, became part of the practice, partner in the practice, and been here practicing in Jamaica for just over 30 years.
What? I can't.
I imagine that. 30 years, held on.
30 years. Oh my goodness. You know that we both started up the hill with undergrad at Howard, and then trekked down the hill to dental school. Different times, but same wonderful experience.
Same wonderful experience.
So I'm going to say something, and then you're going to respond. Are you ready?
Yeah.
HU.
You know.
Well, if you didn't go to HU, sorry, but this is how we greet each other or share the sentiment of the love that we have for Howard University. All right, definitely. So Doc, I'm going to get down into the meat of the matter. We want to make sure that the dental team is aware of some of the things that you do when you serve our patients. And so I have a few questions to you. I'd like to find out first if you could kind of just break down the biology of how teeth actually move in the mouth during orthodontic treatment.
All right, great. So the science behind it is, the main important things you have to remember is the periodontal ligament and the blood supply. Right. So as orthodontists, we are creating forces against a tooth. And if you think of a tooth, if you're pushing against a tooth and it's going to your right, the tooth is going to put pressure on your periodontal ligament, which in turn is going to put pressure on the alveolar bone. And what it does is that it causes the osteoclast to actually remodel the bone in terms of breaking the bone down. On the opposite side, where the periodontal ligament is being pulled, that pulling force puts a force on the alveolar bone, which stimulates it to remodel, doing the osteoid or the framework in terms of building new bone. So you can think of a tooth moving in this direction. On the front part, you have bone being resolved On the back part, you have new bone being formed. Might not be a good analogy, but think of a spoon in a bowl of porridge, where you can move that spoon anywhere in that bowl of porridge. At no point will you see a space between the porridge and the spoon, but it's the same. Sorry. It's the same principle in moving the teeth.
So we're breaking, we're moving, we're building up. We're breaking down, we're moving, we're building up, and we just continue doing that in whatever direction until achieve the correct alignment.
And the key, and that's why when it comes to age, with the blood supply, you find that the younger the patient is, then sometimes the faster the movement will be. As the age increases and the blood supply, sometimes the alveolar bone decreases, then you find that the movement slows down. Also, for the size of teeth, the larger the teeth are, then the more force you're going to need. The type of movement, if you're doing a bodily movement, it's more force. If you're doing like intrusion, then less force. Sorry. So, there's a lot of aspects of it, but the main thing to remember is the blood supply and the periodontal ligament of the tooth. The optimal force you're looking for is about 50 to 100 grams for movement. And if you go above that, which is important, then you end up almost, they call it hyalinization, where you actually damage your bone and the bone comes compact. And it actually takes a while before, the bone can be clear to move again.
So the reason why I started out, the reason why I started out with this question is because I want my listeners to highlight the importance of understanding the science, just the basics of moving teeth, because it means that you have to understand that too much force will create damage. And not enough force is not going to do what people think will be done.
Right.
And once you link teeth with fire, there's force.
Always.
And this is me leading into this thing about fake braces. There really no such thing as fake braces. You just have trained or untrained people using things that are going to move teeth with healthy or unhealthy forces.
Yeah.
Have I summed that up correctly?
Just about. And as you know, it's very passionate for me with my experience with dental council. So just for the get-go, you said one thing, we're untrained, but usually it's somebody that's not a dentist. So getting out of the gate, you have to realize somebody's breaking the law. Right? And that's a whole law part of it. Somebody is breaking the law because they're doing something that they're not qualified to do. And the other aspect of it, you have to look at the health, right? The materials that are being used, you don't know where these materials are coming from. You don't know if they're FDA approved, right? So the whole toxicity, the health of the gums, the wrong forces, you end up damaging the teeth, the gums. And overall, you end up spending more money because all of them end up in our offices trying to do something corrective. So it's a very serious issue that's out there and to be taken very seriously.
Yeah. So it's not enough to want to move teeth so that they are aesthetically pleasing and let me underscore, and functional.
Very important, very important. And that's a balance in orthodontics, because you want to have what everybody sees, which are the straight teeth, but you need to have straight teeth which do function.
Correct.
And then you have somebody moving teeth that don't know about the function, then you're going to end up with something that's non-functional, which again, you start heading on that road where you're going to damage your teeth, you're going to damage your whole, the periodontal, the gums, all the support for your teeth, and just like I say, once a wire goes in there, then that's when the force is in there. And if the brackets, and people think it as a bracket, right? A bracket held on, that slot that the wire goes into, every bracket has a different size, has a different angulation.
Right.
So, it's as simple as it sounds. There's a lot happening when you do something like that.
There's no one size fits all, Doc.
Definitely not.
Each treatment plan is custom made to each patient and their conditions.
Excellently summarized. And then there a brief slide where you talk about in terms of the bracket type. There was a time where you heard about this self-ligating bracket. To make treatment so much faster, you never had to do extractions, everything like that. And it's all, when you look at it, yes, self-ligating brackets will initially, when you have crowded cases, allow the cases to unravel really quick. But if you look at the length of treatment at the end of it, they're not that great a difference. So you have to really understand what it is that you're going to use.
The only other thing that I would say for our team is that we have to make sure that our patients have excellent periodontal health before they go into orthodontics. Because if you have unhealthy bone and you put the bone under the stress of bone breaking down, tooth moving and building up, we're gonna get some less than pleasant results if we're not on top of that.
So again, probably not a good analogy, but I tell all my patients this, when we sit down for the consultation and we're going through, we're looking at everything, you're looking at the whole picture, all right, in terms of the treatment. And that's one of the first things I tell them. I say, look, as an orthodontist, think of a house, all right? We're the ones that are going to come, we're going to do the pretty grill work, the paint work and everything. But before you start planning that, you have to make sure that house is on a solid foundation. And when it comes to the team approach, so you have to know that every patient, and a lot of times it starts with you all the general dentists. We are just playing a part in your total treatment plan, right? And that's where each team member has to know what their role is, going from point A to point Z, what they're going to do, right? And that's how the patient starts and ends. And somebody's going to be very satisfied. It has to be that wholesome approach. There's no one person or one specialist or one practitioner that's going to get them there. It's all a matter of everybody being on the same page and everybody working together in terms of getting that accomplished.
Teamwork makes the dream work, Doc.
Amen. Amen.
Now, earlier you had made mention of tooth movement connected to or in relation to the size of the teeth and the age of the patient. Going back there, what's the optimal age for starting orthodontic treatment? I mean, how early does the intervention need to be?
So ideally, you want to start seeing our patients at age 6. Why age 6? At age 6, you have the 4 upper incisors, the 4 lower incisors, and the 6-year molars. Usually at that stage, you can have a good idea how the bite is going to develop, right?
Okay.
It has changed over the years. I can say 30 years ago, when we started, we used to do a lot of what they call phase 1 treatment. And phase 1 treatment is usually going to do some early corrective treatment, and then you usually go into a second phase, which is full braces. Right now, I'd say 95% of the stuff we don't treat anymore in phase 1, right? What's the reason why? A lot of what we used to treat back in the day, especially crowding, deep bites, a lot of that, once you came out of phase 1 and started phase 2, a lot of it would be relapsing and you'd be retreating it, all right? 2 things happen from that. One, you have a patient who's been doing 1 year to 2 years in phase 1, and then have another 2 years of traditional braces. That's 4 years in braces. You lose patients, they get burnt out. The second, which is more important, is that the parents, their pockets get burnt out, right? Because you got a lot of frustrated parents saying, but we came to address this, but it seems like we're still addressing the same thing 4 years later, right? So 95% of the stuff, I'd say, in our practice at least, we don't treat anymore. There are certain things that definitely help you. I mean, cross bites, where they're posterior cross bites, because at that age, you have the cartilage in the middle. Very good to get expansion early. It saves the treatment down the line. Anterior cross bites, you might have 1 or 2 teeth locked behind, then we'll definitely treat that at an early age. There's certain growth things that you can adjust in terms of the jaw growing and everything there, but limited. I mean, we don't do as much phase 1 again, but age 6 that we want to see them. A lot of times we say, look, we're going to just follow this patient. We follow you coming every 4 months, 5 months. We'll just keep track of you until all the teeth have erupted, and then we'll go into full treatment at that time.
So I'm thinking that would also be an ideal time to evaluate for habits. Tongue sucking, finger sucking, things that would change the shape of the mouth, elevate that palate, and lead to possible, especially posterior cross bites and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I tend to look at very early. And, we both know the orofacial myologist who works so well with our patients to help break habits and prepare them for ortho, so that once they get in there, there's no relapse. Because we know the power of that tongue. If you don't,
that's right. Smallest muscle, but one of the strongest in your body.
Strongest.
It's important, as I was about to tell you, because you have to understand that a lot of patients that come to our office, yes, we have a lot of self-referrals, but patients that are referred are coming from other offices, general dentists. So it's important in your office, at least the team members, they can pick up certain things like that in terms of the habits, finger habits, tongue habits, because this is stuff that you're going to be seeing from their 3, 4, 5 coming into 6. Right? And those are and you all are the ones that see these things, and then that's how they end up being where they are when they come to us as such. Yeah. So, they're very important in terms of the team members understanding all these habits that can lead to having issues later on down the line.
Yes. So as we have just put the exclamation mark beside the fact that teamwork really does make the dream work, in terms of us being able to identify, correct any oral habits, and refer them to the orthodontist at an early age, so that even if treatment doesn't begin initially, the mapping out the treatment plan, the way forward can at least be, there can be some strategy planned for that.
Very important.
Yeah. So now let's get to this fact that no matter how much we tell them what to eat and what not to eat and what to stay away from, we won't talk about the fact that Jamaicans love to crack bone and ice, but our patients come with broken brackets or loose wires. Why do these issues happen?
Okay.
Wink. And how can the dental team help patients manage this visit?
So let's start off with, how it happens. And, so initially when you start your journey with us, we spend some time, the day we fit the braces, we spend some time going through some small videos, we have brochures, everything, and we have a list, right? In terms of this, we call it the top 10 or whatever it is that, stay away from these things, especially in Jamaica. Like you're saying, the ice, the bone, June plum season. June plum is one of the biggest, public enemies, number one. All right. You go through, it has a lot of Jolly Ranch, there's a whole list of things. You have oxtail, which will, bones on here cause a big problem as well. So we go through this list of them. We tell our patients, look, these are the things we know will damage your braces. All right. Once you get used to them, a lot of the patients can maneuver themselves around them. But I said, we know a lot of the stuff you're going to be eating. I said, but just don't tell us. I don't want to know about it. All right. So for us, when they come in and something is broken, it's fairly simple. All right. When it comes to bonding brackets and materials we use now, we hardly even use bands anymore. We try the metal bands that fit over the back teeth because the bonding materials have gotten so strong in terms of composites that we're using. But when a patient comes in, from our point of view, we can tell whether it's something they did or something that we did, which is the bond strength. Usually if the bracket comes off and all the bonding materials on the base of the bracket, then you know that's a problem, something we did in terms of contamination when we're bonding. If it comes in and you see bonding material left on the tooth, then you know something hit that bracket and broke it, right? So
yes,
that can tell us clear with them. A lot of the patients, I'll be honest with you, will will admit when you ask him, you said, so what you're eating? I said, boy, doc, this, that, and he gave it. And I said, was it good oxtail? It was the best oxtail I've eaten in a longest while. I said, well, great. When you're making brackets, make sure you're eating something that you really enjoy. Right? We like to say in orthodontics, there are no real serious emergencies. All right, but a lot of what happens, there are home remedies to the team members that we have here. And first of all, in the last, as I can remember, everybody that we have as a team member here, they're already a dental hygienist. So they're already familiar with the whole oral cavity and everything like that. So you can have a bracket that's broken. Usually it's just a matter of taking that with the patient. If it's the one at the end, it's a matter of if they're at home, usually the bracket will come off and the wire might be sticking in. We'll ask them just to put some wax on it until they can get to us and we can clip the wire. All right. If it's something like a fixed retainer, and same thing can happen, that can break as well. A lot of times, usually if you have a patient that's in retainers and they say something is sticking, it's going to be a fixed retainer. All right. They can get to the office a lot of times, or team members here, they can solve that for us in terms of either just removing part of the wire. If the patient can't get here, a lot of times, we tell the patients beforehand. We have people that are overseas, if they're not unable to reach somebody, a lot of times it's a lot easier just to remove the whole wire until they can come in and have it looked at. So you have things like wax. There are other things that we tell them in terms of just managing the brackets, if they can get the bracket off it, and the same thing with the fixed retainers, that you know how to do it. A lot of times you always see it in the office when they come for the dental cleanings, and you're cleaning, you have to clean around those fixed retainers, and that's a lot of times where you'll pick up certain things where a piece of the wire is sticking out or something is loose, and then that's something that you all know about, because the patient will come in and say, look, I was doing a clean that day, and the hygienist pointed out to me and said, there's this tooth here, the material is missing, and don't see orthodontist now. So a lot of them just are already aware of what to look for. But a lot of the emergencies, as long as we catch them within a day, 2 days, and even up to a couple of weeks to months, in orthodontics, it's not that critical. But it's just a matter of being able to know what something is wrong.
So the sooner the better, but if time doesn't allow, it's not something that's going to be life or death.
Yeah. Most importantly.
Most orthodontists schedule their patients anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks apart. Can you share with us what you're expecting to happen during that time, and why that particular interval? Why is it so important for effective treatment?
Interesting question. So there are two parts to this question. The first part is the whole, when you think about the biology of it. So when we put that force on a tooth, on average, it takes around maybe 4 weeks to 5 weeks for you to start seeing the effect of that movement. So usually at the end of 4, 5, 6 weeks, that's when we want the patient back, so we can continue moving the tooth with that gentle force. Most important, that gentle continuous force. You don't want to go beyond that, or else you have damage to the bone and the teeth. So that's a reason for that time period for getting them back in, so we can continue moving the teeth. You'll have some orthodontists now where they'll be going out like 8 weeks, even longer than 8 weeks, and you want it yourself, that's a bit of a long time, see the patient, maybe some 2-3 months. A lot of that came up when you had the new brackets coming in, like the Damon system, the self-ligating brackets. But it's not so much about the biology of it, it's more about your practice. Because if you got a fairly busy practice, then you find trying to bring everybody back in 4 to 5 weeks, you don't have enough time. So you need to push the patients out further, right? So the reason for the 8 weeks or going beyond that isn't so much the biology of it, it's more for your practice in terms of, being able to bring your patients back in. And that's where the self-ligating brackets came in, because you don't have any elastomeric ligatures on them, which degrade after about 5-6 weeks. Everything is a self-ligating bracket, which is locked in with a little metal door. So that's more, the longer times hasn't nothing to do with the biology, it's just more to deal with the management of your patients in your practice.
Okay. All right. That was interesting for me to note, because there's such a variance. I don't know, for some reason when I just started practicing, I think the average was every 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It went to every 6 weeks. And then I realized that there are some people who stretch it out. But I understand practice management and making sure that everybody is well served in a timely manner.
Yeah, yeah.
So years ago, we had this new, just awesome product that allowed teeth to be moved, and people didn't even realize that teeth were being moved because it looked clear and beautiful. And those were the Invisalign. Now we don't really use the term Invisalign, which is a brand. We speak about clear aligners, and they've become very, very popular. So, Doc, can you just share with us, how do they apply forces to move teeth differently than the traditional braces? And do they have limitations? And if so, what are they?
Okay, so the aligners, like I say, the Invisalign is one that everybody knows about. What it does, it's basically a clear retainer that fits over the teeth. So the retainers that we use are passive. In other words, these retainers are made to the existing position of the teeth, and they just hold them in position. When you get to aligners now, how the aligners move the teeth is that on the teeth themselves, they put some small attachments, right? You usually look at the shade of the patient's tooth, and you pick a shade, which is one that you won't really be able to see when you put it on. Yes, if you come close enough, you'll see these attachments. They have different shapes and sizes, depending on the movement that you want, whether it be intrusion, extrusion, rotation, that type of thing. But you put these particular attachments, and they're made out of a composite, similar to the materials that you use for the clear fillings as such. And these attachments are on specific teeth. Then the trays have what we call the wells or the indentations for these attachments. And you go through a series of trays, right? And it's all computer done in terms of you want to move this tooth a certain amount of millimeters, and it just goes like that. So each tray put on, clicks on, it puts pressures on these little attachments. And those pressure points are what actually moves the teeth. Another problem, if you think of it now, is that if you have a pressure point on the outside of a tooth and you push in like that, a lot of what you're getting is a lot of tipping movements, right? That's the limitation when it comes to the aligners. With braces, when you lock onto a tooth, you can move that tooth bodily, especially torque and everything like that, much better than you can using aligners. So the limitations are when you come to really difficult cases, or cases, we have cases of excessive crowding, cases you have to do extractions in, cases with a lot of missing teeth, then it becomes a lot harder to use Invisalign. We had somebody from New York, a study group, I don't know if you remember them, that came, and his orthodontic practice was all aligners. So, he has taken that to a different level in a sense of understanding it, but the average person won't even get near to doing that with aligners, So it's going to be the case. Then with the aligners, you have to remember, you have to wear them patient cooperation. You're looking at least 20 to 22 hours per day wearing aligners, right? They're still uncomfortable because they put pressure on the teeth, just like braces. And when you take them off, the teeth are still tender, right? Then also, when you have hygiene, so you have these trays on, so you have to make sure when you're eating and you're going to put the tray back on, you really have to brush your teeth because you don't want anything trapped under there, especially if you're drinking anything with sugar, anything like that, because that can lead to, as ill effects in terms of the health of the teeth. And surprisingly enough, cost, because a lot of these, you send them out to the companies, so you have to pay up front for the companies, manufacturing the trays and everything like that, so you also have the cost with the aligners as such. Though aesthetically, some patients just don't want to have anything on the teeth or anything metal on the teeth, and so aligners do have their position in terms of what can be done, but there are limitations compared to the traditional braces.
So 2 points about what you just said. The first is understanding that when we're talking about tipping, we're talking about the crown that we can see and the root underneath. And we can affect what's happening with the crown, but the roots don't move as much. Is that accurate?
Right, that's accurate.
Okay.
So with aligners, they'll say, you have to can get around doing extractions, that type of thing. But basically with aligners, what you're doing is that you're doing a lot of expansion, right? Because you get rid of the crown, you go in there, they do a lot of stripping in between the teeth, but a lot of it is just expansion, right? And a lot of what they don't have a lot of studies about is that after doing all this expansion, is what type of occlusion do you have, right? You'll find a lot
All
of
the teeth
more,
fit together.
right? And you'll find a lot of patients who do go through a line of treatment. At the end of treatment, a lot of times start having issues with the joint in terms of the bite. The occlusion is off. You spend a lot of time. If you know what you're doing, you spend a lot of time adjusting the occlusion in terms of getting the bite to settle down and everything like that. So, that's one of you have to really pick your cases right when you're using aligners.
The second thing that I want to highlight is that all restorative dentistry would have to be done before the aligners, because they're so specific in terms of how they fit, that if you attempt to restore a tooth and it's not just the way it started, it could be problematic.
Right, and that's what happens. A lot of times you can lose the trays. You can have an issue like that with a tray. I mean, that happens if it's a company like Invisalign, then that tray now has to go back, and you have to sort of start recalibrating again, going through the rest of it as well. But whatever you start with, you have to make sure that those series of trays you finish with, that you can't have any changes in between. Very right.
So, Doc, the truth is, proper treatment planning is the key.
Is the key. Choose the cases right and know what you want to accomplish.
And see, now, that's the thing. The thing that is most important is often least highlighted. And that's the ability to plan your case carefully. And sometimes, you can look at it with your years of expertise, say, okay, this, and this. And it may seem to the average person, that he just spent 10, 15 minutes on it. But it's years of experience and knowledge that has allowed you to spend that time. And correct me if I am wrong, but I believe that orthodontists are using a lot of AI tools to help them with the treatment planning process. So things are more specific.
Yeah. So and it's not only orthodontics. AI is huge. You need to jump on that bandwagon and don't be left behind, all right? Because it's when you go into, you're doing your C credits and you go to all the conference and everything is AI now. I mean, even for us here, we do indirect bonding as such. So you have the companies now where you basically, everything, as you're doing, everything is scanning the teeth to get a digital impression. And that digital impression is sent off. And the companies are now using the logarithms, whereas looking at where the teeth are, AI can position those teeth where they think they should be starting here and where the end of treatment is going to be, right? And then you'll get a model back that you're looking on your screen, computer screen, and you can sit down each tooth individually. You can look with your knowledge and say, is this possible? Is this movement possible? Can I tweak this and tweak that? You can basically move that bracket anywhere you want to do. And once you've approved that case, then you just hit a button and it'll go to your 3D printer outside. The 3D printer will print your indirect bonding trays, which come out, and then you just put your brackets in there. Right, but that's all AI driven. Everything now is AI. There's nothing you can get away without, looking at AI. So it's important. A lot of people sort of step back and say AI, yes, it's frightening, but you have to know how to use that tool. And you can't be left behind. You have to get on that wagon.
Well, it's a term that we're using now, but it's been around for a very long time. It's just now more of a buzzword, because I remember, I was about to say a few years ago, but maybe I should say some years ago. I don't remember. I think it was before the pandemic. I had the opportunity to go to one of the ortho meetings It was one of those that invited general dentists to come. I think it was in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were more there in the meeting
Yeah.
or out there at the time. No, I'm just kidding. You were very much there paying attention.
Yeah, yeah. You know?
And we had one of those, one of the lectures was on that software and showing us how the treatment plan process could be made so much more specific. And really address each patient in a very, very precise way.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. And you're right, we shouldn't leave it behind. It's been, with the CAD CAM, meaning the scanning and using a software to speak to the milling, and we get crowns produced almost immediately in the office. Now I use an AI filter, so when I'm speaking to my patients about the treatment plan and we're looking at the x-rays, it's color coded, so it makes life so much easier. And there's so many other ways that AI has really infiltrated all our lives for a long time.
But don't do your front desk. You know what I mean? You always have a patient who can be problematic, or a patient that will push certain buttons to get a reaction or something like that. And if you can be there on the air and a patient says something, and you can put that into the AI as the best, in dental office, best answer for angry parent, this, that, and the next, and you get like a whole list coming out, which is some of them not great. I mean, the majority of them are some really good answers. So even with your front desk and everything like that, it's just every aspect there is a practice.
Create a polite, professional response for the patient.
That's it. That's basically what it is.
And you'll get options.
It gives the options.
So it's moving along. You're saying get on board. We're on board. We just don't realize that we're already on board for a long time. So other than AI, are there any techniques or technologies that are changing the way that we approach orthodontics and the movement of teeth?
It's an exciting field. I mean, it's been happening over the last few years. Just the materials that we're using, the whole bracket systems. A lot of the brackets, as you can see, are getting smaller and smaller. The wires that we use have been around for quite a few years, and a lot of the wires that we use aren't what we used to call the traditional wires, but alloys, which are heat sensitive. So they're at your body temperature. That's when they tend to flex, but they want to go back to their original shape. So if you put them in a glass of cold water, it sounds like a piece of spaghetti. But when it reaches body temperature, it gets back, and the wire is what does the work for us, everything like that. So you have a lot of things. The TADS, temporary anchorage devices, which are these small screws. I mean, that has changed the way in terms of how we move teeth. Because you can basically a lot of stuff we couldn't do before. Like the anchor on the teeth themselves, we can put these mini implants anywhere in the mouth to be able to help us to move teeth in a certain way. So I mean, it's but a lot of it right now is just the whole 3D. When it comes to the 3D printing, the digital scanning, in the office now, you get away with taking impressions almost. That's obsolete now. Making retainers, you're making them auto scan models. You can, at the point where we can actually print our aligners and everything in office. So a lot of it is just with the whole technology of going 3-dimensional.
All right, one final question, and this is for the dental team. As an orthodontist, what do you deem to be the best ways for us general dentists, hygienists, and assistants to support you and the patients going through orthodontic treatment?
So, good question again. And it sounds sort of bad sometimes when I say it to patients, but one of the first questions, let's say when you give them a treatment plan, they say, so doc, I still need to go back to my hygienist and my general dentist. And I say, time out. I say, look, I don't want to sound bad, but think of us, I'm taking your teeth and I have them here and I'm lining those teeth up, right? But when it comes to everything around those teeth, that's where you need to be, over there, right? Because we're doing our monthly adjustments. We have a plan that we're looking, we can see where you're starting, we can see where you want to end up. But in between that, right? The general dentist, the hygienist, they play a major role, right? it's critical, and that decision is made by the hygienist and the general dentist. After having the braces on, you put these things on your teeth. It becomes a lot more, I don't say difficult, but you have to be more meticulous in terms of how you're cleaning your teeth, right? Your gums will get inflamed compared to when you had no braces on, right? So a decision has to be made whether you're going to have cleanings done like every 6 months, 5 months, even down to 3 months. You have some patients who just need to go in a lot more often. When you're going for those visits again, you're going through and the hygienist is cleaning, you're looking for everything. There are small things we are going to miss. So it's very important that you have those regular cleanings done. So anything that comes up, then the health for the teeth are priority. Come up, might have a small cavity. They come back and to us and say, look, I have a small cavity, no problem. You just remove that brace, go and have it done. You come back, we continue what we're doing, right? So we are just a very small part. The major part of it is what's happening with the general dentist, the hygienist, and that side of the teeth. We are just doing, in our minds, it's a small part, but it's an integral part of what needs to be done. But the main scheme of where the patient goes from point A to point B is what's happening in the general dentist's office and making sure they maintain, because at the end of the day, if you have straight teeth where you don't have good oral health, then it's a waste of time. You have to make sure that everything is on top, going straight through.
Thank you for underscoring that. In general, when we have patients in orthodontic treatment, we see them anywhere between every 3 to 4 months. Mm-hmm. Because as you've spoken or underscored so many times, the foundation has to be healthy when we're moving teeth. And so that means the periodontium, the soft tissue and the bone support underneath has to be healthy. And that's where we come in to regaining health if we've lost some ground and continuously maintaining health. Mm-hmm. So thanks for that. I've seen 2 scenarios. I've seen braces come off, lots of bone loss. Mm-hmm. Not a good result. I've also seen braces come off and significant amount of decalcifications that become cavities. Mm-hmm. Nothing to do with the orthodontist, everything to do with the care in between.
But that being said, it shouldn't be missed. That should not be missed. That doesn't happen overnight, right? That doesn't happen in a month, 2 months, 3 months, or even half a year, right? So when something like that happens, somewhere along the line, somebody dropped the ball. And usually, I almost beg to say that a lot of times when patients sometimes can go missing, or patients really just haven't been, with something I will see when a patient goes missing for like maybe 9 months, 12 months, and also they turn up and misses things going wrong. And probably on the other end is probably the same, where they haven't been to the general dentist or hygienist for like over a year.
Right.
But we do have some that slip through the roots. But if it's been doing the way it should be done, then ideally that shouldn't happen.
So you're absolutely right, because my experience has been it's one of those scenarios. Mm-hmm. Now, I have spoken with an orthodontist, and we have not frequently, but on occasion, decided we're going to take this kid cannot manage hygiene with these brackets. Let's take them off. Mm-hmm. And when we are more mature, maybe we could try again, because the plaque is everywhere. I agree that it's like I said, for me, the most fundamental thing is the health for the teeth. And anytime starts compromising that, then time out. So you have been such a gracious guest, but guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask you 3 rapid fire questions.
Let's get ready.
This is where we have the fun. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Favorite food?
Have to say oxtail.
Oh my goodness. So are you telling me that you spend your days telling people not to eat your favorite food?
And I don't say I eat it every week, but when I do have it, I enjoy it.
And you know what I say to my patients? we know how to take care of our teeth.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we indulge,
Yeah.
we're not going to crack that bone. We're going to eat the meat.
Have it pressure just right.
That's right. So everything is soft.
Yeah.
On your bucket list, favorite place that you've always wanted to go?
I want to try and get over to like China or somewhere like that, on that side of the world. I just came back from a Mediterranean trip. I've never been to like Greece or Turkey or that place, and it was good. But I'd love to get to the Orient on that side. Yeah.
Okay. Now, tell me, what is your favorite movie of all times?
Let me see. I'd have to say something like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Okay.
It's a comedy.
Yes, I know.
It's a really, really, really funny comedy.
Entertaining.
Entertaining, yeah.
I tell you, I'll pay people to make me cry at a good love story or laugh, but I'm not paying anybody to scare me. So
no, most definitely.
Final question, Doc.
Mm-hmm.
What is the one bit of advice that you would give to your teenage self? What would you tell teenage Nigel? What advice?
If I knew what I knew now, I would have probably said, you might have known my history. I used to give a lot of trouble and everything. And
you?
Yeah.
Who would have known? You used to give trouble. Okay, guys, pause there. He's the chairman of the Dental Council of Jamaica. He's the guy at the top. Anything in dentistry is going to go through him. We did not hear him say he was the number one troublemaker. But anyway,
but no,
everybody is redeemable.
My mother, prayers, all about prayers.
There you go.
But no, on a serious note, that's don't sweat the small stuff. You can see behind me here.
Yes.
By faith and not by sight.
I agree with that 100%.
Right. And that's something, it took me a while to learn that, and it's just to, you don't have control over a lot of stuff that happens in life.
That's true.
Most you can do is just try to be prepared and don't sweat the small stuff. There's a lot of much more important things in life. Upstairs there.
That's right.
Family and health. So,
Well, this has been a wonderful conversation, my friend,
likewise.
My colleague, the orthodontist that I refer patients to, my HU brother.
You.
You know.
Yeah.
And both of us have had the wonderful privilege of serving on the Dental Council as chairwoman, chairman of the Dental Council. So I share your weight, Brother B, but I'm happy to pass it on to you.
No comment whatsoever.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah, pleasure.
So what a wonderful time we had learning so much from Dr. Nigel Knight, my HU alum buddy. But it's so important to recognize that once we are putting any wire on teeth, they are forces, and we need to recognize that orthodontic treatment requires slow, gentle movement of the teeth. And anything that is too strong, too rigid is going to cause bone loss. Sometimes when you lose bone, it doesn't grow back. In times like this, when we're losing bone due to orthodontic forces that are unhealthy, it definitely does not grow back. We also have to remember that we have come a long way, and while aligners are more aesthetically pleasing, they have limitations. They can work with doing some expansion and making the teeth look really much better than they did. But when it comes to the type of movement that requires you to move the roots of the teeth to get a proper occlusion, a proper bite, we may have to look at the traditional braces. Listen, it is important to have good hygiene because there's a lot more hardware preventing the toothbrush from getting to the surfaces, limiting the floss. So more time has to be taken and you have to do it consistently. If you're wearing aligners, if our patients are wearing aligners, we have to make sure that they're brushing thoroughly and flossing after lunch before they put that aligner back in, because you don't want to trap food and bacteria under those aligners that stay on the teeth for how much did he say? 20 something hours? Okay, so there's a lot for us as team members to remember so that we can encourage our clients have their teeth cleaned every 3 to 4 months, because we want, when those brackets come off, that the teeth look great. Remind our patients of the do's and don'ts, what to eat, what not to eat, what to put aside, because damaged brackets slow progress. Well, I think that's a wrap. We had quite an earful today from Dr. Nigel Knight. Listen, it's always great when we live, learn, and grow together. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and I'll see you the next time.